guys, check out Charlie Kirks. He's at one of his students' rallies outdoors, and he's wearing this shirt that says American Lives Matter. Well, check out how this one lady freaked out over his shirt. Have a watch.
I noticed you're wearing an American Lives Matter shirt. What is your message to this audience right now by wearing that t-shirt? What is your intended message?
Well, I think that we should put Americans above foreigners.
You know that the whole point of, the movement, that came with Lives Matter was originally for Black Lives Matter?
Yes, I'm intentionally appropriating it. Yeah.
And are you trying to eliminate the movement Black Lives Matter? Are you trying to not bring attention to it?
I mean, well, BLM is not exactly a movement that I would be associated with, but I believe all lives matter. American lives matter. If you're a Black American, Hispanic American, I don't care. All Americans' lives matter.
Would you take the time to recognize a group of people who have been marginalized historically and who are now asking for the same rights, the same privileges as white people in the society by letting
What rights do white people have that blacks don't?
So the issue is, it's not necessarily written in the law.
Oh, so it's like hidden.
That's the whole point. That's how marginalizing works.
Oh, so it's kind of like, it's like a ghost. You see it one day and you don't. And
because you as a white privileged person with money have never seen it, doesn't mean it doesn't
What privilege
exist.
do I as a white person have that a black person doesn't? What can a white person do in America that a black person cannot do? Be specific. Name one thing.
So there are so many issues in our society.
Name one thing. No, I got to drill you in. Name one thing a white person can do that a black person cannot do.
So the issue is racism, okay? You can technically do it, but your life may be put at risk if you find yourself in certain areas where you might not be accepted by your race, and then your life might be in danger.
Okay, what is racism? Can you define to me what racism is?
Racism, well, I don't have the exact description as it is seen in AP style or Wikipedia.
Can you just talk in the mic, please? I'm sorry, yeah.
Sorry. Racism is the lack of opportunities because of a race, the kind of putting a person to a side.
So can you name a single example in the last 20 years where blacks were discriminated en masse, where they've been put aside? Can you give me a specific example?
You can simply talk about police brutality and mass incarceration.
What percentage of murders do black Americans commit in America?
So there you have a point of there is over-policing in black communities, specifically
murders.
Lower income communities.
Blacks commit murders because of police? I'm not talking about murders of police.
You're twisting my words.
So why do blacks commit so many murders?
They don't.
So they're 13% of the population, and they do 55% of the murders in America.
So
why?
You're not even looking at the background of it. There is over-policing in lower income communities.
There's under-policing in lower income communities. Number two, you're trying to say that over-policing, even if that existed, which it doesn't, leads to the fact that 13% of the U.S. population accounts for 55% of the murders?
There is a target on people of color's backs, okay? So when a white person sees a person of color...
Prove it.
There is studies, there is research
give me one example. Give me one piece of evidence that there's a target on black people's back. In fact, I will submit to you there's the opposite. Black students can get into this college with lower test scores than white students. It's called affirmative action.
So now white people are the people who are struggling?
No.
Are they the marginalized ones?
I will go back to this, though. Can you name a specific example of what a black person cannot do that a white person can do? And be, again, specific. Anything.
I'm talking about, so racism as a whole is not written in the law because that's not allowed anymore. But it still exists.
Then give me an example.
I just told you.
You said police brutality is your example. Why do you think blacks encounter police so much? They commit more crimes.
There is
and not just like a little bit more.
Policing.
No, there's under policing. And how could you say such a thing? We have defunded the police in Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, largely defunded it. We saw crime rates go up.
I also want you to take in mind that when a whole group their opportunities to succeed economically, let's say they don't get that higher paying job because they chose a white person instead of a black person, that makes
Show me an example of where that happened recently.
That makes an entire community more prone to being lower income, and then that is lower income communities are directly related to like more crime activity.
But let me ask you a question. What percentage of young blacks have both a mom and a dad raising them?
I cannot think of a percentage right now to give you.
25%. So only 1 out of 4 blacks in America have a mom and a dad around. Do you think that is a bigger issue to address than racism? Do you think more dads is a better solution, or tackling racism, which you say you can't even see in our laws?
How could dads be connected directly? Like
dads are very connected.
And what about, okay.
When you have a dad around, you're less likely to be violent as a male, less likely to go to prison.
So explain to me why all the fathers are leaving.
Exactly. Why are they leaving?
Question for you.
Because
why are
black
they leaving?
women married the government and divorced the men that they were once with.
Talk about white people right now.
I'm sorry, I'm a realist, not a racist. Secondly, see, you could come up to the mic and call me a racist to my face, or are you an intellectual coward and want to shout it from 30 feet away?
You know, watching this girl talk, it just really just makes my blood boil, because it's just a continued representation of what our children are being taught in our schools. And what they're being taught, you can tell, like, she can't even give examples. She's just like all over the map with what she's trying to explain to or share even with Charlie. Charlie's shirt said, all lives matter. Simple as that, all lives matter. And instead of her looking at that shirt and probably agreeing that all lives matter, she wants to challenge Charlie and say, so by you wearing that shirt, are you like saying that black lives don't matter? which if you think about it is totally ridiculous, because Black lives matter as much as all lives matter. That's the movement message. That's the message of the movement of his shirt that he's wearing. But Black Lives Matter leaders, their rhetoric, all they want you to do is they want you to feel, as this young lady is standing there and everything that's coming out of her mouth shares, they want you to feel like our country is so racist and is just as bad as like the 1950s. I mean, it's horrific. It's just as bad as that. And the reason why I say like that they do that is because if you ever listen to a Black Lives Matter lecture or rally, they're just so angry. All they do is just take a shot at white people. I mean, what is that actually doing if you think about it? It's not having a movement that's going to solve problems to unite Black people with white people and every other culture and race in our country. It's trying to switch around that racism now is Black people are racist against white people. I mean, it's just like an endless, cycle that really brings no peace to our country and to our people. They don't want to. The Black Lives Matter movement does not want to educate at all. And I say this just from my own experience of people I've heard who have spoken from Black Lives Matter and any literature I've read. They don't ever educate our kids or people about the progress we've made since, let's say, the 1950s. The progress we have made in our country to ensure that everyone has the equal rights of freedoms and privileges, et cetera, et cetera. And what proof have we, there's proof all over the world already, even in our own country, that is factual. We had a Black American become a president. We had a Black woman, not only a first woman, but a Black woman, become vice president. But let me just pause there for a second. how the Black Lives Matter movement and those who want to keep racism alive in our country say to us, if you disagree with anything Obama said or did, or anything, if you didn't vote for Kamala Harris, you're racist. My goodness, it couldn't possibly mean that maybe we just didn't agree with the policies, right? No, it doesn't. When this girl started to say to Charlie, this is what really just like caught me. She asked Charlie, she goes, Charlie, can you take the time to recognize people who have been marginalized historically and who are asking for the same rights and the same privileges in our country? Charlie stops her right there. You know why? Because he knows she can't even give an example. He's like, give me an example. Give me one thing specific that you're talking about that a white person has as a privilege in this country that a black person cannot have. Name one thing. And what does she do? Oh, there's research out there. There's studies out there. See, our children are being taught to just one thing, that white people are at fault for any mishaps or less than that black people have, right? Because for her even to ask that question, Charlie's like, anything that a white person can have in our country for privileges, for freedoms, for anything, the same can happen for a black person. But our kids are not being taught that. Our kids are being actually taught to hate who they are, the race that they are, to support another race, but in a way that they're being asked to support in a way that is almost, they're talking like we're back in the 1950s, and that's how bad racism is in our country. But it's not. And our kids are just going to continue to fight this way unless our school systems are changed and they teach them the real education around the progress we have made and the areas that we still need to work on. Not everything that we still need to work on because we're so racist. The problems we still need to work on, and how can we fix those problems? Unbelievable.